Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
I think Mr. O'Keefe's just on his way now.
Very good.
Yes, Mr. Millett.
Mr. O'Keefe, thank you for coming back. Can I ask you, first of all, a question about these FRUs?
Yes.
And I think I was suggesting to you that the general call had gone out for full EDBAs a little bit later than perhaps it was the case. Can I ask you to look, please, at the short incident log in tab 23 of the bundle and go to page 22. This is an entry at 021658, makeup. CU8 from DAC O'Loughlin, make FRU times 10.
That would be the call for the FRUs,
Right.
EDBA.
And given that we've got, and I don't need to show it to you, but given that we've got Group Manager Welch booking in at status 3 at 0157,
yes.
and we have that makeup at FU10, does that help you in
Yes,
timing
that would be
your
the time he would have walked, he would have gone away from me. I think it would have been a point for discussion amongst the senior officers that are attending, and then the decision was made up as a result of that to make FRUs 10.
Right, thank you. Now, I want to go back just to follow up one or two things on the Hipple Stern rescue, or attempted rescue, on the 16th floor. First of all, from your knowledge, do you know whether Hipple and Stern were at any time with the resident that they met on the stairs?
No, I don't know that.
You don't know? Okay. Because I may have suggested to you inadvertently that Hipple and Stern were with him, but
I couldn't tell you.
you don't know. All right. About that rescue, can I ask you to look at a photograph and be shown, I think it's tab 50 in the documents bundle, Mr. Documents Director, and it's MET 000015642. This is a photograph we've seen before, earlier this week, which was taken, I think, by Justin O'Byrne. And we'll just wait till it comes up. This is a photograph taken by Justin O'Byrne, as he tells us, and his evidence is that it was taken at 0217.
Yes.
So we're a minute or so after the FOU makeup we've just seen by coincidence. Could you just look at it with me? Hang on, is that the right one? I'm not sure that's the right one. Would you just give me a moment? I mean, first of all, you can help us with this. It says 16th up there. Well, let me ask you a prior question. Do you know what this is? Whose writing that is?
Well, I would say it's either Justin O'Byrne or Watch Manager Lou De Silva.
Okay. And
Louisa De Silva.
And that information was coming from where, do you think?
Okay. I don't know exactly the time that Watch Manager De Silva came to the bridgehead, but when she came, when she came to the bridgehead, I detailed her to take control of BA control and FSG information.
Right.
Before she came to the bridgehead, I had detailed firefighter O'Byrne to utilise the wall to write up the FSG information, because, as he had indicated to me, the forward information board was full, and when he did so, I instructed him to write it on the wall.
Right.
So I don't know whose writing it is.
Okay. We'll come back to that photograph in a minute. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I've taken you to the wrong photograph.
Okay.
But the information you've just given us about that photograph is important, so I'll come back to it shortly. If you go, please, to the photograph at 13074, which was JOB 8. It's
Could you give the reference
yes,
again?
MET 000130074. Yes. Now, do you recognise that writing, that set of inscriptions?
Not specifically. It would be what's written on the wall by our guys in the bridgehead.
Right. Do you know who was writing that up?
Again, it would be either, well, of not just firefighter O'Byrne, but other individuals individual firefighters and an officer, Watch Manager De Silva,
Right.
who came to the bridgehead, who were working on the bridgehead as part of that team.
And can you help me with a particular inscription there? On the bottom right-hand corner, you see written at an angle from bottom left to top right. Looks
Yeah.
like 113, 8 people, 14 floor.
Yes.
Now, there it is in enlarged form. Do you remember, first of all, whose writing was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, do you know when that was written there?
I don't.
Do you know the circumstances in which that came to be written there?
It would be Fire Survival Guidance Call.
That would be a fire survival.
That would be the circumstances, yeah.
Right. Now, it says... okay. It says 1138 people.
I remember when we had to, when we eventually ended up in the lobby of having 8 people in the vicinity still, but not that specific writing. I don't know who wrote it.
Okay. And can I just then go back to the photograph I was showing you before, which is at 15642. And if we can enlarge it halfway down, it says, I think, yeah, there it is. It says 113, 14th floor,
Yes.
with a tick next to it, BA. What does that tick mean?
That it's been searched, I would guess, but I didn't put the tick there, so I don't know.
All right. If we just pan out and just go back to the list, a little higher up, you can see 133, 16th floor. You see that? Do
Yeah.
you remember the circumstances in which that came to be written there?
No.
Now that's right. Well, that's the 16th floor. Do you think that came to be written there after Stern and Hippel had reported to you that they had not been able to make a rescue on the 16th floor?
I couldn't say.
Right. And then if you look at 15624, which is a different photograph, I'll just see if I can just cover this off. 15624. This is more fire survival guidance written on the wall. Looking again at floor 16, it looks like a different wall and a different set of numbers. Can you help with that?
No. I know that because I had detailed people to write on the walls, that they were writing on the walls, but because I was so involved in other activities,
Right.
That's why I delegated this work to another watch manager,
Right.
who was sent to assist me at the bridgehead.
And you see it says 16133 there, in a ring. Do you remember?
Can you enlarge that, please?
Yes,
I can't see.
it'll be enlarged. 16, that looks like 133 there.
Yes.
With a ring round it and a smudge next to it. Can you help with when that was put there?
No.
Or whether that was after Hippel and Stern had
I
come
don't
back?
know.
You don't know. Okay. We may have to come back to those photographs a little bit later. Can I then turn to finish off this Hipple and Stern deployment? You said before the lunch break that as soon as they came down, without having made the rescue on the 16th floor, you deployed another set of firefighters, and you thought they were from Ealing.
Well, the system was such that if a rescue was not carried out by a crew that was detailed to carry out the rescue, a subsequent crew would be committed to the same until we could get a rescue or not.
Right. And if you could please be showing the telemetry data in tab 1 of the documents bundle, we can see the end of wear time for Hipple and Stern at 38:35 and 01:38:40. No, that's not the right document. It's tab 1 with telemetry data. Yeah. And if you go to, first of all, let's start with the end of wear time for Hipple and Stern. And we see in the blue column at the right-hand side of the screen that the end of Hipple and Stern's wear time is 01:38:35 and 01:38:40.
Okay.
And how soon after their end of wear time do you think you dispatched the next set of BA wearers to the 16th floor?
Immediately,
Right.
or as soon as one was available.
Right, so we're looking for a dispatch. Now, at about that time, we're looking down on the tally out time in the green column. We've got a trio of BA wearers from Kensington and 2 from Hammersmith, Broderick, and Sefton, tallying out at 1:38:02 and 1:27. Do you think that might have been who you sent next?
I don't know.
Okay. What about we know that. Well, what about the 5 from Paddington, Hammersmith, and Paddington, Wolfenden, James, Felton, Benjamin, etc. in blue? No, that's not the right one. The 5. That's it. The 5 there. Do you think you sent 5 firefighters up to the 16th floor?
I didn't say I sent 5 up there. Again, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, rather than guessing, do you remember whether the next set of firefighters you sent to the 16th floor was a pair, or whether it was a group larger than a pair?
I don't remember.
Right. And you said you thought it was Ealing, but having thought about it again, do you remember what station they were from?
No.
Right. So can I now turn to the next deployment, Murphy and Cornelius?
Yeah.
And in page 10, you say, going back to your statement, a third of the way down, I committed another crew, a 4-person crew, firefighters Murphy and Cornelius and 2 others who I can't recall, to go to flat 111 on the 14th floor where there was 1 adult male FSG. So that's a 4-person team. And if we just go back to the if we just go back to the telemetry data, we can see their time of dispatch. I'm sorry to have taken it off the screen. Cornelius tallies out at 01:51 if you look at the green column, and Desmond Murphy at 01:51:24. It looks as if they've gone as a pair, but do you think that the other 2 below them, Campbell and Mills from Paddington, also went with them?
I don't recall, but I do know they got split up on the way up.
Right, okay, that may have
They were going up with 2 other firefighters.
Okay.
One of the 4, yeah.
Right, but just using Cornelius and Murphy then, we've got their tally out times at 1:51 more or less, so that would be about right, would it?
I actually met them when they came down.
I'll come to when they come down just in a moment. Let me just ask you some questions about what you discover when they go up. they go up. When they go up there, are you able to speak to them?
Not on the way up, no.
Right.
Before they went up, yes, but not on the way up.
Okay. And what brief did you give them before they went up? Do you remember?
Well, I told them to take firefighting equipment, because they took quite a lot of firefighting equipment. I said there was a fire, the reports of fire, not just smoke, and that they had one individual I can't remember the number of the flat, adult male, and they were to firefighting, search and rescue.
Right. You said
It's an FSG call,
Right.
First Level Guidance call.
And you said you had reports of actual fire in that flat.
Yeah, that's why I sent them with the firefighting equipment.
Do you remember recording or having recorded on the wall or any of those walls by the bridgehead the information that there was fire in that flat?
Not me personally, no.
Okay. And they go up,
Yes.
and then they come back down again. And you say at the top of page 11 of your statement, the BA crew of firefighters Murphy and Cornelius then returned to the bridgehead. Without the other two crew members, they didn't know where they'd gone. They looked exhausted and reported to me that they'd reached flat 111 and found the male occupant. So just pausing there, when they came back down, are we to take it they gave you a debriefing?
Yeah, it was quite a troubled one because they were in very bad shape.
They were in bad shape.
Yes.
And just in terms of their time at which they came back to the bridgehead, we just look at the telemetry data again, tab 1, and look at their tally out time. We have that in there as unrecorded, but an end of wear time, if you look at the blue column, of 2:18:35 and 2:19:34. That's given that they tallied out at 01:51 or so. What would that tell you about how long they've been up there and how easy it has been for them?
Been very difficult for them.
Right. And
They
we can
couldn't.
see,
Go on.
well, we can see that. No, continue. Sorry.
No, you carry on.
You can see their final pressure there, 53 for Charles Cornelius and 78.47 for
Yeah.
Desmond Murphy. Is that
That's quite low.
That's quite low.
Yeah. Your low pressure warning whistle sounds at 84 bar.
Yes.
You got 12 minutes to get out, really.
And you say they were in quite bad shape.
They were in bad shape. Yeah.
Could you just expand on what you mean by that?
I could, yeah. They had abandoned their firefighting kit above. They didn't think they were going to make it out alive. That's what they said to me. Well, that's what Firefighter Murphy said to me.
Right.
They looked really shaken. He said that they couldn't see any of the door numbers. They didn't know which floor they were on. And I specifically remember Firefighter Murphy telling me that he had to use his firefighter's hand lamp to go up close to a floor number to try and find out where they were.
Really?
That they had found the individual of the flat, but because of the density, and when they went there, they found another 7 people from various flats who came to them for help. They were unable to take the 8 people out.
Right.
You need a pause. Just give me a moment, please.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I knew I had 8 people now on that floor. In one flat, they put the people in the flat which they deemed to be the least smoky flat, and they reported that to me. And as far as I recall, I deployed another BA crew immediately to that area. I don't know. I'm really sorry about this, but I can't remember most of the crews. I only know this because firefighters Cornelius and Murphy were from my watch, and they're friends of mine.
Just focusing on where they had found the other 7, was that in the same flat?
Same floor.
Same floor, but in the same flat as the male occupant, flat 111?
The same floor, not the same flat, the same floor. When they kicked the door in, I believe.
Right.
And they found, I won't say his name because I don't really want to say his name, I don't think it's relevant at the moment, I should say.
It's okay. Take your time.
I'll be okay.
Yeah, just take it your own pace.
And so they placed, the only thing they could do was place people in a place which they considered to be safe for that time, and they told them that somebody would come back to get them.
Yes. And you then say, halfway down page 11, that I passed on the information I'd received from firefighters Murphy and Cornelius to the incident commander and to watch manager De Silva.
I believe she was there then.
Now, in terms of passing it on to the incident commander, do you remember who that was at that stage?
I asked for them to bring that information out to the incident commander, and that it be recorded on the bridgehead for a briefing of the crews. It was hectic at that time.
Right, but do you remember the name of the incident commander at that point?
I think it was Watch Manager Dowden. I don't know how many pumps there was at the stage or who had taken over.
Right.
I wasn't aware of what was going on outside the tower.
Were you aware, or do you remember that a major incident had been declared?
I wasn't made aware of that at all.
Right. Okay. And was the conversation, the debrief you had with Murphy and Cornelius, was that after your conversation with Group Manager Welch about EDBAs?
Before.
It was before?
Yeah, it certainly was before.
Okay. Long before?
I don't know.
Right. And so, based on their tally, or their end of wear time that we've seen, you can't tell us, can you, who the incident commander was? No. And when you say you passed it on to the incident commander, could you tell us what you did?
Well, I couldn't make any comms. I was in contact with various officers who were coming to the bridgehead. I was giving them information, and I was giving information, any information that I had. They would also give that information. Firefighters Cornelius and Murphy would give that information to the entry control board and whoever was running that system at the time.
And do you think that Watch Manager De Silva recorded the information that Murphy and Cornelius had given to you?
If she was there, she certainly would have.
Right. Can I just ask you to look at a photograph again? I think it's one we looked at a moment ago, but it's coming back to it. It's Met 000013042. And this, again, this may not be the right one, so you may have to look at one or two others. Are you all right with that, Mr. O'Keefe?
I am.
Let's start with that one. Yes, so we looked at this before. This is where we see 113, 8 people, 14th floor, bottom right there. Having been through the story now, telling us about the debrief you got from Murphy and Cornelius, can you explain that writing on that wall there?
Well, floor 9, flat 65, where we saw who was crew of 4, and their names are there. I can't see what they're writing at the end. 3 rooms. And Johnson and Roots, 14th floor.
No, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. So it's the writing which isn't in a ring or box that we looked at a minute ago. If it can be enlarged, please.
Yes, please.
It's in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture. So 113, 8 people, 14th floor, there. That writing on the wall there.
That's the flat they would have been put into.
Do you think that? Well, I don't want you to speculate. But
No, that would be it.
That would be it, and that would be what? De Silva recording.
That would be the recording of the information that they've given over.
Right. Okay. And so we have it. Okay.
Okay.
And if we can then look at, yes, that's helpful. And then you say you detailed another BA crew to rescue the occupants of floor 14.
Yeah, yes, I did.
Are you ready to go on? Would you like a break?
I can go on.
Okay, all right.
I'm okay.
Okay. Now, I'm just to put you back in your statement. This is just before halfway down on page 11. You say I then detailed another BA crew to rescue the occupants of floor 14. Was that an urgent matter for you?
Everything was urgent.
Right. I just want to try and see if I can get my get an indication of who that might have been in that crew. First of all, do you remember what you said when you briefed the new BA crew?
No, I mean, as I cannot recollect briefing the new crew, it may have been Watch Manager De Silva or somebody briefed that crew on where,
right,
on the location, because when Chelsea's Watch Manager De Silva arrived, because of the volume of information, and to control that information, I put a Watch Manager, Louisa De Silva, in charge of that task specifically.
Right, I see. And we have some evidence from witness statements that a firefighter called Orchard and Herrera were briefed to go to the 14th floor, to go to flat 111.
Okay.
Is that something that rings a bell with you?
No.
It doesn't. What about the names Juggins and McAllenan?
No.
No? Can I just show you an entry in the telemetry data again?
Yeah, of course.
If you go to the bottom of BA timeline 3, and there's a white box of 5 BA wearers, 3 from Lambeth, 1 from Chelsea and 1 from Soho, Evans, Bloxham, Herrera, Ferguson and Orchard, who tally out at...
Sorry, just a minute, Mr. Millett. Are we looking at the right part?
BA timeline 3, no, it's probably beyond, it's lower down. It's the next page, I think. Yes. If you go to the next page. Right. Great, thank you. And if you look at the top of that now, you'll see a block of 5 firefighters, 3 from Lambeth, 1 from Chelsea, 1 from Soho. All tallying out at 0224 and 0226 and then 0227.
Yeah, I recognise one there.
Does that trigger...
A few of the names, actually.
Right. And does that trigger a recollection in whether or not that group was the group?
No, they weren't. They were the group that found the firefighter who was lost.
Oh, I see.
I remember distinctly when they came, they brought the firefighter in.
Okay, well, I don't want to fish around in this, seeing if I can prompt a recollection. Let me leave it this way. Do you remember the size of the BA contingent that you sent in order to rescue the occupants
No.
of floor 14? You don't. And do you remember what happened when that second crew that you had briefed came back to the bridgehead?
No.
Do you think you had a debrief with them?
No, I didn't know.
Right. Did anybody else have a debrief with them? do you think?
You would have to ask Watch Manager Louise De Silva for that one.
Right. Now, jumping ahead if I can in your witness statement, I'm going to go on to a different document. Now, you've been going for 30 minutes. I think we're probably time for a short break.
Do you think that would be a good
Mr.
thing?
O'Keefe, if we
I
can.
think it would be.
Yes, I thought you might. We'll have a break for 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Back here at 20 to 3,
Okay,
they're discussing your evidence.
okay, thank you.
Well done, thank you very much. 20 to 3 then, please. Well, Mr. Millett, I think I can say without too much fear of contradiction that we're all feeling the heat of it. I'm sure Mr. O'Keefe is, I am.
Yes.
Maybe you are and others too. So I think what we should do is to finish this afternoon's session by 3:15. If you reach a natural point before then, or a little bit before then,
It will be
we'll take that.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll finish at 3:15 and I think give you a bit of respite.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. O'Keefe, thank you very much. Can I take you to page 15 of your witness statement? And I'm going to just ask you to look at the bottom of that page. And I want just to give you enough opportunity to look at that so we could identify perhaps when in time these things are happening. But you say, 8 lines up from the bottom, it was also apparent now that all BA crews were EDBA crews. And then you go on to say, there was a lot of noise and shouting in the lobby. I was continually handed pieces of paper by runners because the comms were no longer working. And then you say, we had the very old-fashioned but dependable method of people physically getting numbers from the command unit, then running the gauntlet of debris and other things coming down on them to then give me pieces of paper into my hand. All of these numbers went onto the wall and it grew and grew. I kept all of these pieces of paper and put them in my trouser pocket. After the incident, I took them from my pocket and carefully unstuck them from each other. They've subsequently been handed to the LFB accident investigators. Now, we think we've got those as, and just help me, LFB quadruple 01929, if we can just have a look at that.
Yeah, that's the. So that was on the in the lobby when we had to evacuate the 3rd floor bridgehead. I believe it was an emergency evacuation, and that would have been around 4 o'clock because I remember seeing the. And the only reason I know this is that you got 0420 on one of them and 0405, which is the time of the morning it was.
Right.
So at that time we had, well before that, the entire bridgehead was evacuated, and these pieces of paper were being handed to me directly.
Right.
And I drew a map on the wall of a tower. It's a pictogram. And I was transcribing this information onto the wall.
Okay, let me see if I can piece this together then. So in these pieces of paper,
Yes.
you were getting, when did you start getting pieces of paper like this? When did you start getting these pieces of paper?
When did I start?
Yes.
Those pieces of paper, when I was on the ground floor.
When you were on
In the lobby.
So when the bridgehead was on the ground floor in the lobby?
That was towards the latter stages of the incident.
Yes. So you weren't, is this right, you weren't getting pieces of paper like this before that?
I think I may have, but I didn't have them in my tunic.
Right.
I just happened to put these together because there were so many coming. And I didn't deliberately, I probably did at the time, but I don't recall. I put them in a bundle and put them in my leggings or my tunic and my filing kit.
Who was giving you these pieces of paper?
Mainly Watch Manager Watson.
And where was he? Where were you standing when he was giving?
I was standing at the end of the stairs, at the very beginning of the stairs, in the lobby.
In the lobby, the ground floor lobby.
Ground floors, yes.
And where was Watch Manager Watson getting them from?
He would have been getting them from the side. If you put a map up, I could probably. Well, the firefighters I created, they'd broken in a new. So not the front of the building, which was the south side.
Yes.
It would have been the west, possibly the west. Western side, there was a door, they made an opening there, which was the only safe access at that time into the building, or semi-safe access.
Right.
And he was picking up the paper, so somebody would run through the door and hand it to him, and he would run to me and give it to me, or walk to me.
Okay. Do you know who it was that was writing this information on these pieces of paper?
I don't.
Okay, so is it what was happening that these pieces of paper with writing already on them was being given to Watch Manager Watson?
Who was then given them to
who
me.
was then given to you?
Yeah.
And you don't know where, or do you know where the person who gave this information to Watch Manager Watson got it from?
I will tell you that those pages are from an officer's notebook.
Right.
We all carry them in our tunics for recording reasons, and so they were being written on this, on these pieces of paper, and they were being handed to me individually.
Okay.
So I would then transcribe that information onto the wall, and then brief oncoming EWA crews of, for example, 14th floor 112, 14th floor 113, and so on.
Yes. And the time of 0410.
0410, 0420, 0405, so that's when it sort of around that time.
Was that the time, to your understanding, that information had been recorded?
Yes.
When the person who wrote this on there wrote it? Yes,
without a doubt. There would be a delay of a couple of minutes while the information was being transported to me.
Right. And you can see 0430 on the right hand side, 82, it looks like 11, 3 purse.
3 persons, yeah.
Did you get much information in addition to what we see on these pieces of paper about the number of people in particular apartments?
Yes. So in 122 there's looking at the paper now, you would have had a number of persons or not.
Yeah. And
as the case is.
Right.
But when you were given a flat number, you knew there were people in there.
Right. And did you understand that this meant, just take for example 0410, list of flats on the 14th floor there, did that mean to you that there were still residents in those flats at 0410?
Yes.
Right. And so you took that information into your hand. What did you do with it?
So I drew a pictogram of a tower on the wall next to me.
Right.
And I put these numbers on the wall in an order that I could understand and I could brief the crews with.
Right. And did you brief the crews with it?
Yes.
And what did you tell them? Do you remember? I mean, take for example 0410, flat 113. For example.
When obviously, okay, you're going to flat 12. Sorry, you're going to flat 92 on the 12th floor, and that would be there would be more to the briefing than that, but the specifics of life risk, that's it, and where they are.
Okay. Now we have some evidence that a watch manager called Alan Moore ran slips from outside the tower, from a crew manager up to the bridgehead, and gave them to a watch manager he thinks might have been you. And he did the same thing when he got to the ground floor. Do you think, does that trigger a recollection? Do you remember that?
Yeah, Watch Manager Watson wasn't the only person giving the information.
Right.
But towards the latter part, he was the only person coming in with information. But other officers were handing me slips. But if I can contextualize, this was an 8-hour span.
No, I understand.
And it was a deluge of information,
I understand. And did, to the best of your understanding, was there any kind of prioritisation being applied to these?
They were all prioritised as everywhere. Every fire survival guidance call has the same level of priority. It's have the same height and state of urgency. It's as quick as you can and as best as you can. Right.
Can I just ask you to look at one or two other documents? First of all, LFB 00001951. Which is a standard form control information form,
Yeah.
6178, and that's got 133 scribbled out, it says left, and then 134 and 135, 16. Do you recognise that handwriting?
No, I don't recognise the handwriting.
Do you recognise the document?
I do recognise the document.
Could you just explain what that is?
That document is carried on all frontline appliances, operational fire engines.
Right.
And it's, as you can see on the top, there are four copies. And when fire crews receive information from our control on fire survival guidance now in progress, meaning that they have persons confirmed trapped within a building, usually the driver of the appliance, but if not, if you have somebody available, a firefighter or officer, would put the information on this form.
Do you remember receiving documents such as this when you were managing the bridgehead?
Possibly, I don't remember.
Right, let's see if the next one triggers a recollection. 1961, LFB quadruple 01961. Same kind of form, and this one says, just wait for it to come up, premise number 142 and 143, 17th floor, and then at the top someone's written priory, which I imagine is priority. 5 persons, it looks like, in 142, and the time is 0413. Do you remember receiving this document or anything
Possibly,
like it?
again, possibly. The only reason I know that the other documents that I received, the smaller ones, is because I found them a week later in my tunic.
Right.
I hadn't remembered getting them.
Oh, I see. So you found these in your tunic, did you, afterwards? This is part of the cache.
Yeah, when we go to incidents, this was quite an involved one. Our fire gear gets contaminated by various reasons, and the correct procedure is to have it cleaned. We keep a stock on stations, so you would put it in for specialist cleaning.
Right.
And we keep a lot of personal items and other notebooks in our fire gear. So I was taking all the stuff out of my pockets before I submitted it for cleaning, and I found those documents which I consider important.
Yes.
To any subsequent inquiry. So I gave them to our own senior management team, who forwarded them to the police.
Yes, I see. And okay. Just going back a little bit earlier in time in the evening, could I just ask you to be shown page 41 of the ORR? This is the operational response report at 012654. I just want to ask you one or two questions to see how far we can go.
Okay.
With this information. It may not be that far, but let's see. It's a call recorded by Brigade Controller 012654 from a flat 186 on the 21st floor. Do you remember being on the bridgehead when that fire survival guidance information came through?
No. I mean, if it was 0126, I was on the bridgehead,
Yes.
but I don't remember that specific information.
No.
Can I just say there were hundreds of calls coming through?
And then at 013838, we've got a call. This is page 67 of the operational response report. I wonder if you could just be shown that. 013838, we've got a call being taken by Brigade Control. which is 183 on the 21st floor, flat 183 on the 21st floor. Again, the same question, do you remember anything about that?
No.
And page 81, just look at that. There's a call there timed at 01:50:49 relating to flat 133 on floor 16 we've discussed, and flat 182 on the 21st floor. Do you remember anything about a fire survival guidance coming in after that time in relation to flat 182 on the 21st floor?
Not specifically, but I remember there being multiple calls. So I don't know if, again, I'll mention it again, that Watch Manager De Silva, who was managing the FSG on the bridgehead, she may be able to shed more light on it, or firefighters, O'Byrne, or St. Owen,
Yes. And
amongst other officers.
Yes, just to chase that one down just a little bit further, if you could just be showing MET 000015625. This is a photograph I showed you before. It's a Justin O'Byrne photograph which he took just before moving the bridgehead from the bridgehead. I'm sorry, at 3:08 a.m. That's what he told us.
That's when the bridge was evacuated.
That's right.
I asked my crew to photograph the wall, which they did. We had to save the information, bring it with us. So we grabbed the breathing apparatus boards and took photographs of what was on the wall and brought us with us to the ground floor.
Yeah. Yes. And in that photograph, can you just see it says just below the top of the list 21, and then there's a tick next to 204, and then 182 has got a circle around it and a tick through it. Do you know what the circle around it means?
No, I don't, but I don't know. I can only guess, and I don't want to do that.
No.
I can only make an experienced guess, but nevertheless a guess. So okay. No, I don't.
And the tick through it, what was? Do you know what that represents?
Well, when I was doing similar walk downstairs, a tick would mean it's searched. A cross would either mean deceased or rescue.
Right. And if you continue on page 81 in the operational response report, it says excuse me. I'm sorry, I've given you a wrong reference and got my own wrong reference, so I'm going to ask. But in general terms, were you aware of requests coming through from control to prioritise calls?
In general terms, yes.
Yeah. And was there a message to come through to prioritise based on smoke density?
The priority would be on the proximity to fire, or the density of the smoke. If information was received from the residents that there was fire nearby, that would be given priority, yes.
And I have a question about an early evacuation. Do you remember a man coming out of a flat on the second floor in the very early stages of the fire?
People did come down in the very early stages of it. Some were okay.
Right.
Because no, there wasn't anything, the severity hadn't developed at that time.
Do you remember somebody coming out of a flat on the second floor and being told to go back into his flat?
No.
Do you remember somebody making a 999 call and being told someone's coming to get you?
I beg your pardon?
In that flat, a flat on a low floor.
On the second floor?
Yes.
And that's where we were, on the second floor, no, and I don't remember that now.
Right. Okay. Can I just ask you to go back to one more picture, which is MET 000015642. I've looked at this a number of times, I'm afraid, in relation to different flats. I'm sorry to keep jumping about, but you'll see on this, if you look at the whole, there, 3/4 of the way down, you can see 122 15th smoke. You see that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, you can see up there, it says BA 122 15th smoke.
Okay, that would signify that in flat 1-2 on the 15th floor there was smoke,
Right.
either in the vicinity or in the flat.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think it refers to smoke within the flat?
You'd have to ask the control operators about that one.
Right. And again, can you help us as to where the information about smoke would
That
have come
came from the occupant of the flat to our control, and then to us via the usual circuitous route.
From the occupant of the flat through the control room
Correct.
to the command unit and then through the fire
Yes,
ground
that's
and
correct.
wiggling its way up to
Yes.
you there, that way round.
That's how fire survival guidance works.
Right, okay.
Our calls work.
Right, so it was via as fire survival guidance calls.
Yes.
Thank you. So, thank you very much. Now, can I then ask you about about for how high firefighters could get into the building, starting at page 11 of your statement. And I think we've covered this before, but I just want to start from this point. You say 3/4 of the way down, page 11, our BA crews were reporting that they were unable to reach the upper floors before reaching their turnaround times. Is that something you say I transmitted that to the incident commander. Do you remember which incident commander it was that you told that to?
Richard Welsh.
That's Welsh.
Group Manager Welsh.
Right. And would that be at the same time as this early conversation about
Yes.
EDBA? Right.
Well, I'll just, if I can remind you, he said, what are you doing? What tactics or activity are you employing? And I told him, I can't remember the exact words of the entire conversation, except that it wasn't working. We couldn't successfully reach certain areas,
Yeah.
and that to do that would require, at the very minimum, extended duration breathing apparatus crews
Yes.
to give us more more resources to do that.
Yes. And then over the top of the next page, you say, page 12, that you made the decision to allow BA crews to go past entry control point without going under air. This
Yes.
is way outside policy, but we weren't reaching and rescuing people because crews were
That's
running
correct,
out of
yeah.
air. I see. So given the conditions in the stair, do you think that actually saved much time for those firefighters?
Yes.
It did. And how much further do you think that enabled them to get up
I
into
don't
the
know,
building?
but my information is that you could get up to a certain level where it became really difficult with smoke, really smoke logged. I can't remember the actual level. So I thought if I extended the duration of the standard duration BA crews, it would give them a safety margin and more air to allow them to either try and rescue or at least get back out themselves.
Yes. And you go on to say lower down in that paragraph that was a hard decision
Was
and increased danger to the BA crews themselves. Then you say, I also detailed the BA crews to commit without firefighting immediate and breaking in kit
Yeah.
because we didn't have enough of it. So does that mean that you're sending firefighters up into the building without water?
Correct, yeah.
That-
We ran out of firefighting equipment, specifically branches, very early on. And I remember at one point, I remember the moment very clearly, I had about 8 or 9 fresh BA wearers on the balcony. And I was talking to Watch Manager Watson,
Yes.
and I looked along and I said, okay, you got all the equipment, where are the branches? He said, we don't have any left. And the bulk, there was so many calls coming in for rescue that I made the decision. I said, I can't wait any longer, we have to commit.
Do you remember whether any firefighters were taking BA sets up for residents to wear on the way down?
No,
You don't remember that?
no.
Okay.
What I did tell the firefighters, because one did challenge me, and rightly so, about not taking firefighting kit upwards. He probably didn't know that the circumstances that we were in at that time. I just said to him, look, there was a lot of equipment abandoned throughout the building by other crews. The initial crews dropped their kit everywhere,
Right.
and to use that.
Right, I see. And was this dropped kit, was that on the stairwell?
Yeah.
And
In the lobbies and the stairwell,
Right.
probably mainly in the lobbies.
Right. Okay. And did that assist or not assist the
I
exit
don't
route?
know.
Okay. Mr. O'Keefe, is it all right if I just ask you 5 minutes more questions?
Yeah, go on.
Right.
I'm glad you asked me, thank you.
I can see the clock and you can't. I just want to talk about what happened when Station Manager Andy Walton came to the bridgehead.
Yeah.
In the middle of page 12, you say a station manager then arrived at the bridgehead. Well, let me just take a step back. You say crews began reporting that it was zero visibility and extremely hot, and they were unable to determine floor or flat numbers. Light smoke was now apparent in the vicinity of our bridgehead. When did the light smoke appear in the vicinity of the bridgehead? Because you described earlier that there was
Again,
some...
it was only when doors were opening, and
Okay.
it wasn't permanent.
Right. And then you say a station manager then arrived at the bridgehead and said to me he was taking over and asked who was in charge. I didn't know who he was at the time, but I now know him as Station Manager Andy Walton. I briefed him that I was in charge. And you say we had a robust discussion. He stayed there only a short time. Then we left and we didn't see him again. Now, I've read that all to you because there's a number of questions. First of all, you say you had a robust discussion with him. Can you explain what the discussion was about?
Not entirely, but he appeared agitated, and he wasn't calm.
Right.
I wanted to keep calm control of the bridgehead. I believe he said he wanted people to go downstairs. We had, at that time, rescues going on. My judgment was that we should stay put, and I said that to him, and I said that I was in charge. Even though I know he was a senior rank to me, it wasn't an argument as such, but it was just me firmly telling him we were staying there.
What did you say to him? Do you remember?
I'm in charge here of the bridgehead. He asked who's in charge of bridgeheads. I am.
Okay. Did you say anything to him about the stay put policy?
No.
Right. Did you say anything to him about what tactics were being adopted by way of search and rescue inside the
No.
building? Okay. Do you remember what information you were able to give to Station Manager Walton about the process you had in place at the bridgehead?
I just told him he had multiple FSG calls.
Did you tell him what was... Did you give him an impression of how successful some of the deployments had been?
No, but I assumed that he would know that we were carrying out rescues.
Right.
I just took for granted that he would have been appraised elsewhere.
Okay. In terms of timing, let me see if I can get the timing of this. Walton, does he come? Do you have this discussion with him prior to your discussion with Group Manager Welch?
Yes.
I see. And do you remember whether the discussion you had with Walton was prior to pumps being made 40?
What time were pumps made 40?
pumps were made 40 at 02, I believe 0204.
Yeah, that would have been before that.
Right. Then before I... mislead you with that, let me just get absolute clarity on that. Well, yes, unfortunately, the short incident log says 0203, make pumps 25. Now, that's clearly a mistake, but that's about the time when pumps were made 40, according to another log we have.
I wasn't made aware that it was made pumps 40.
Right.
I was far too involved in what we were doing in the tower.
Okay, all right. But it was, at any rate, it was before you say you had your discussion with Group Manager Welch
That's
about
correct.
EDBA.
And in fact, I would tell you that the discussion with Group Manager Welch was quite soon after I had a discussion with Station Manager Walton, very soon afterwards, within about 5 minutes.
Right. And you say he left after a short time. Do you know what he went off to do?
I don't.
Okay.
He was busy.
He was busy.
I don't know where he went.
Right, so he basically just left you doing what you were doing.
Yes.
I see. Did you know that he went off to manage the queue of BA wearers on the balcony?
No.
You didn't. Did you have any ongoing connection or role with Andy Walton after?
Pardon?
Did you have any ongoing connection or role to play with Andy Walton after he left you? Right. And similarly, once Group Manager Welch had left you after the initial conversation about EDBA,
Yeah.
did he just leave you to carry on with what you were doing?
He let me carry on what he was doing, but he kept coming back. Like he came back about after that.
Right.
He came back to, and I had a discussion about moving the bridgehead up to the third floor.
The third floor. And did he then become Bridgehead Commander?
Well, I'm assuming if you're a fire sector commander, you're in charge of the bridgehead, but I continued doing what I was doing in the bridgehead. He would come back occasionally.
Was there a time when Group Manager Welch and a man called Patrick Goulbourne took over at the bridgehead?
No, I'll tell you what happened. I suggested to Group Manager Welch that we could move the bridgehead up further.
Right.
And he said, okay, and I said what I would do is I would reconnoitre with another crew manager, Septon from Hammersmith, to see look at the viability above the second floor. So we went to the third and fourth and tried to go to the fifth, but the fifth was a no-goer. The fourth was on fire, so we couldn't use that as a bridgehead. It was the lobby had a lot of black rolling smoke in it. So we went to the third floor, and the third floor looked okay, so I went back to Group Manager Welch.
Right.
And then I said, we can do this, we can put it there. And he said, okay. And then Group Manager Goulbourne and the Station Manager Cook came up to the third floor with me.
Right.
I suppose to verify my judgment, and they had to the senior management. And that's how that was established. And whilst we were there, we Station Manager Cook received a fire survival guidance call on his airwave radio coming from the third floor.
Right. Okay.
Would that be a good point, Mr.
That would be as good a point as any.
All right.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. O'Keefe, we're going to stop there for the afternoon.
Okay,
But
sir.
Before I let you go, I just got to sort something out. Mr. Millett, I take it you've got a few more questions you'd like to ask Mr. O'Keefe.
I have a few more questions, continuing on the theme we've just been on, just to try to break that up a bit more, but not much more after that. No.
Right.
And I think, I think in terms of time, I don't want to be more than another 30 minutes with Mr. O'Keefe.
Well, Mr. O'Keefe, you've given us a lot of very useful evidence already, but as you heard, Mr. Millett
I know, sir.
is not quite satisfied. He'd like to ask you about a few other things. So
Okay.
can I trouble you to come back on Monday morning?
Oh, it's fine. I'll come back on Monday.
And these are long days. I think we'll start at 10 o'clock on Monday.
Yes.
So could you be here ready to resume at 10 o'clock on
Right, 10
Monday?
o'clock? Yeah, okay.
And although I'm sure a lot of people would like to talk to you about what's been going on and so on, can you at least remember not to talk about
Of
your
course I will.
evidence or the circumstances?
Okay, sir.
And if you'd like to go to the usher, I'll look forward to seeing you on Monday morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Millett, is there anything else we need to deal with?
Mr. Chairman, I can't think of anything at the moment. No, there isn't.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, well, we'll stop there for the day. I'm sorry it's been a rather warm day. I've tried to improve the temperature without a great deal of success, as you will have realised, but I hope perhaps we can do better next week. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you all on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Thank you.